And we're going live. We're live. Welcome to the First Layers Ask for Help, our regular Saturday night live stream where you can kind of come in and join us and ask your questions. We have Brian in the house with us again tonight. Hi, Brian.
Hey, Richard, how's it going?
I'm getting older, grayer, and I'm not getting any better looking.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah. Well, you're not gray. I'm gray.
It's coming in.
Yeah, well, you're still young yet.
Eh, we'll see.
So let's say hi to some people tonight. We've got Captain Lachlan. He was the first one in tonight, by the way. Then we've got Jerry Knapp, our good friend at 3D Printing and Painting down in Vegas. We've also got Pierre. And then there's Rex Waldy from The Hat, Snapshot FPV, David Sell, Paul Cumber, Mark L. Baker, a good friend here in Calgary. And then we've got Wesley Fletcher, Gary T. RT is joining us. That's our good friend Richard Taylor. And we are all set to go. So, welcome again to our Saturday Night live stream. We hope that you guys are going to get something out of tonight. This show is designed so that you can ask questions through our email. We have an email set up called questions@thefirstlayer.com, and you can send your questions in there Monday to Friday, all hours of the day. And we usually start looking at them either late Friday night or Saturday morning, and then we can go over those questions. Those take priority in this show, and then we take questions from the live audience as well. So there's Rob Waltz, hello, and Paul Largent. I probably messed that up. Andrew Bailey, Sausage, Tim McCoyne, Mark Fuentes. Holy cow, we got lots of people in here. Robert Marvin.
You're all in quarantine, aren't you?
Tina Louise, 143rd. Which translates to I love you. Tina Louise, I love you. There's Rob Donato from New Jersey. Wow. And Robert Marvin's coming to us from California. Trevor Rickard. We have got a full house tonight from all over. Let us know where you're from tonight. So let's kick things off with our first question pertaining to an Ender 3. And this is from Alan. He's asking, I have an Ender 3 Pro and I'm looking to replacing the standard nozzle, the 0.4. I see that the price is a couple of dollars to just outrageous prices that I would not be able to pay. So when shopping, what do you look for on Amazon, for example? Some look to have more point. Others are not smooth cutting marks. Not putting Spool 3D down, but they're selling them for $9 each. Okay, what makes it worth the price? Well, Alan, first and foremost, you're going to need a Mark 8 nozzle for the Ender 3. So that's something that you need to know straight up, is that it is a Mark 8 nozzle with a short throw thread. So you don't want a long throw thread. If you get the long throw thread, you are going to have a nozzle that you can't use on a Creality product. That being said, what makes them different? Well, it's all going to depend on whether you're getting brass, stainless steel, hardened steel, tungsten steel, a tungsten carbide, or a ruby nozzle. Of course, though, most of those are going to be probably out of your price range. But depending on what you're printing, I would say if you want to start printing something like wood, you will be using a 0.5 or a 0.6 brass nozzle. You can use that quite fine. If you are wanting to print glow-in-the-darks or any of the other filled products, you are going to have to go to either a stainless steel or a hardened steel nozzle, which is going to run you in and around anywhere from $25 to $30, depending on where you get the nozzle from. And don't be afraid to spend that little bit of extra, and try not to get a knockoff nozzle if you can. I would go with a company that you trust, of course, and get the nozzle that you really need. What do you say to that, Brian?
Yeah, I agree. I tend, honestly, nozzles are probably the cheapest things that I put on my machines. So I usually go and spend a bit more. I'll go up for a stainless steel or a hardened. Um, I've seen the nozzle X's, all that stuff. I still only print PLA, but at the end of the day, I find the machining is better on the higher quality ones, and they maintain the nozzle size for the lifetime of the nozzle. I've actually had quite a few issues with brass, so it's up to you. You know, if you find yourself burning through brass nozzles, go and get a better quality one. But if you're just starting out, especially if you're experimenting with nozzle sizes, don't blow all your money, because chances are you're going to step back down to like a point 0.4.
I would agree with that 100%. I wouldn't go any smaller than a point 0.4 for general everyday printing. I think if you want to print something like miniatures, you're going to then at that point take a look at smaller nozzles. But for the most part, I think you're okay in that respect. I hope that answered your question, Alan. Let's take a look at what's going on here in the chat. And wow, we've got people from all over the world, Brian.
Yeah.
Wisconsin, we've got Australia, we've got Florida, South Carolina, Sydney, Hoosiers 3D Club. I'm not sure what that is, and California. Wow, we've got quite a few people all around the world tonight, and welcome.
Chris Walker, I got to ask: Are you VR fishing or are you real world fishing? Because I could see somebody sitting in a boat somewhere fishing, but wearing a set of VR goggles. I got mine like right here. I'm ready to VR fish. But that, you know what? I think if you have a chance, take a screenshot of your view and post on the First Layer group. I would love to see that.
Pierre's up in Edmonton. We've got Shorty's 3D Workshop from New Jersey. Dan Adams from Michigan. Joanne's Jung. Greetings from Germany. I'm not sure what a Jung is, but okay. I'm not going to ask. We've got Indiana. Oh, it's the Hoosiers. There we go. Hoosiers. Ohio, 3D Medic Vince. There he is.
I read that first. I'm like, oh, they call themselves Hosers too, eh?
So, you guys, if you joined us last night, you know we talked a little bit about medical safety gear and printing medical safety gear. So at this point in time, we're pretty much done with that for tonight. So we're going to get right into questions as we have been already. Brian, how's your neck doing?
It's hurting.
Is it? What'd you do?
Yeah, no, I actually have a neck issue that once in a while flares up, and normally I take ibuprofen and another ingredient called methylcarbamol, which is available here in Canada, but I learned is a controlled substance in the US. However, there are some interesting reports out there, so I'm trying to mix it up a little bit to avoid ingredients right now, and it's not working. Yeah. So I'm toughing it through. So if you see me move my neck around a bit, it's just trying to loosen it up a bit.
Did you pour yourself a drink tonight for that to help you with pain?
No. I'm drinking the buble.
The buble.
Yeah, we're not going to talk about those commercials. That's
that's horrible. I got my keyboard and my mouse working today, so my mouse and my keyboard are purple.
Ooh, nice.
Yes, it's the one that I had over at the shop. Now it's here at home.
What you guys don't see is my camera is like dead up beside my main screen, and I got a keyboard and mouse in front of me and inches to move. So I'm in a very enclosed space.
Now, Brian is much brighter than I am because I turn off all the lights in my room and I just use my studio lights. So if I look a little darker, that's the reason why.
Well, here, hang on. Oh, there you go. There's the natural light. Yeah. No, that's this is just one floodlight right beside my desk to give a little bit more even light. But my camera is just a mirrorless camera that I did a hack on it to get a free video feed. Problem is, it's not easy to change the video settings on the fly anymore. So
there you go.
It's the term WYSIWYG, and if you've never heard that, it stands for what you see is what you get.
Ain't that the truth?
Yeah.
All right. So you guys are going to get a behind-the-scenes tour of the new setup here at home because I don't know how long I'm going to be recording or live streaming from here for the next few weeks, few months. Who knows how long this is going to take. So we are going to be recording here. So I'm going to give you guys a behind-the-scenes tour. Once it's all done, I'll do some filming, and then that will go up onto our Patreon. And then some of the behind-the-scenes photos will go up onto our, what is that thing? What do they call that? Oh, yeah, Instagram. I had to look over here. Instagram. Let's jump right into another question here.
Throw your questions into the chat because
Yes.
if we didn't say it, we will look at them. We'll definitely try to answer them all. It's just we have a little priority with email, but don't stop that from asking your questions.
There you go. Let's have a look, see here what we've got over here from Robert, called Flying Jake. Robert, I'm not even going to try and pronounce your last name, Robert, because it's all consonants and very little vowels. So he says, I have a CR10 S and have not been able to get consistent first layers. Recently, I believe I have found a couple of mechanical concerns that may have contributed to the problem. I would like to see you discuss the finish someone should expect with the correct settings on the bottom side of the first layer. Now, the side that touches the build plate, for example, using a mirror or an easy mat. Also, I'd like to hear you discuss the start script when using a BLTouch or Easy ABL. What should that script look like? What would be important commands? And in what order? And then finally, he's asking, I've uploaded the latest Marlin 2.0 onto my CR10S 2.1 Creality board using Arduino. Now I notice moves are not smooth. Some moves appear to be divided into segments. Not sure, but appears the board is able to use only part of the G code, then loads the rest. Suggestions? Short of a newer board, should I go with the TH3D unified firmware or step back to older versions of Marlin? That's enough for now. Hopefully I'll catch the show live. If not, I'll follow and watch it Sunday. Okay, Robert.
Okay, let's start.
I'm going to let you start with this.
Yeah. Firmware wise, I said it a week ago, and I got a little bit of whipping from one of the Marlin devs for saying this, but I still stand by it. Those 8-bit boards, you should stick with something below Marlin 2.0.
Yes.
Now, this week, for the first time in a very, very long time, there was an update to Marlin 1.1.9. It's called Marlin 1.1.9.1, and it incorporates all the bug fixes that were found after 1.1.9 came out. So I would say stick with that version with the 8-bit boards. It's going to make it a lot easier for translating your settings around. 2.0 is great, but there's been so many versions coming out lately. I'm having to go and upgrade mine every couple of days when I find a new bug. So it's not been the greatest. So my recommendation is, at least for the 8-bit boards, stick with what works. Richard, any thoughts on that?
Well, I would definitely not be using the Marlin 2.0. I would actually download the stock firmware from Creality for the CR10S with the BLTouch. That seems to work the best in my opinion. I have tried 2.0 on the standard board. The Easy ABL, Easy firmware upgrade, it can be more complicated than it's worth. So personally, if you're not very familiar with Marlin, and this goes out to anybody that's wanting to do this, I would say just go ahead and grab the firmware for the CR10. That one is made specifically to run on that machine, so they know the ins and outs. There's no sense in reinventing the wheel as far as I'm concerned. I know that Printed Solid has done their own script and example configuration H and configuration advanced H files, but in my personal opinion, I think by using the firmware from Creality, you're going to be far better off, and you're also going to be able to diagnose problems faster. And all those little aberrations that are happening now, they'll all go away. I can almost guarantee that.
Honestly, the only thing I disagree with on that is I think you should still go to the newest version of Marlin 1, but translate every setting across that Creality uses, because there are a lot of bug fixes between, I think the last one I saw they used was like Marlin 1.10 or something like that. It was 1.1.0. It's a fairly dated version. And if we want to talk about software revisioning for a moment, what you're going to see is you're going to see a major release, which is Marlin 1 to Marlin 2. You're going to see a
Yep.
minor release, which is Marlin 1.1.8 to 1.1.9, and then you're generally going to see bug fixes below that, which is how we got the 1.1.9.1. So if you're ever wanting to upgrade your Marlin, take a look at those numbers and what changes version to version. Now, normally I would say, yeah, you can stick with the Creality firmware, but number one, they really were bad at enabling thermal runaway. So make sure your thermal protection's turned on if you do download their firmware. And number two, don't expect any of the extra features within that firmware to work exactly as expected. If it's not enabled, then Creality didn't test it on their machine. Stick
Yeah.
with those basics. If you're going to start throwing a BLTouch in there and everything, you may as well go up to 1.1.9.1.
All right, we have a question here. Well, let's do the second part of this,
Yes.
or the second part, which is the putting the line in your G code. As far as putting a line in your G code, where it should go is G29 space semicolon BLTouch, and it should follow right behind the G28 command in your start script. It doesn't matter what slicer you're using. In your start script, it should follow G28, then G29, and then the rest of the script. So that is the easiest way to do it. I'm not a big fan of custom firmware because firmware works differently for each and every person I've found. Everybody has a different problem. So again, I will stick with what comes from the factory. And if I have to make any tweaks, I'll make any tweaks because I have that experience. Mm-hmm. So Trevor is asking, hey, have a quick question for all of you. All I have planned today, heat towel. Is it normal for you to best heat settings to be 190C and went all the way up to 240C? It should be 240 all the way down to 190. Is when you're doing a heat tower, because that's what I'm assuming you're doing, not a towel. Because if you're doing a heat towel on your 3D printer, that could be a real problem.
Budget enclosure.
That could, yeah, there you go. Could be an enclosure. No, for a heat tower, you should be starting at your top, which is 240, and working your way down. If you use the heat tower that is in our video on heat towers, you'll find that I believe in our Cura playlist. We show you how to make a heat tower and start at 240 and work your way all the way up to 190 so that you can see exactly what's going on there. What else do we got going on here? I'm missing stuff. I know I am.
I was going to jump back to our topic about start G code and talk, because I've actually seen this question come up quite often, is why do you run G29 after G28? So there are two approaches there's three approaches you can take to this. Step one is you issue a G28 in your start G code, which does your homing, which is required for G29, and then you issue your G29. The reason you do that in that order is because every time you issue a G28, by default, it actually turns off bed leveling in the runtime. And so if you issue the G29 afterwards, it levels. Now, there is a workaround to that, and that is if you don't want to play with your firmware, you add below your G28 the command M420 space S1. And what that does is that's a flag to turn back on bed leveling once it's found its home. Because remember, bed leveling is an offset from where it found its home. So once you find a home, it blanks it, and then you use that to recall it from memory. Now, if you're modifying your firmware, there's a command, I believe it's restore leveling after G28. And if you turn that on, it's going to automatically load the bed leveling presets previously in there to your runtime. Now, the reason I like the latter two versus doing a G29 every time is because if you have an unreliable probe, or if you've adjusted the bed in such a way that additional probing may cause issues, you're basically relying on it trying to calculate its grid every time. So it adds a lot of time, and it can add another error factor. If you know your bed leveling schema is perfect and your memory is good, you're going to save, sometimes I've done up to 64 points on a bed. It can take 6 minutes. So Just think about how valuable it is to you. If you're not worried about time, yeah, do a G29 every time. Why not? But I've had issues with probes over time. It's extra wear and tear on a lot of them too. That all that additional probing, you might not want to run it.
All right. So here we've got another question from Bill Blight. He says, when you extract the TH3D firmware / installation guide / EasyABL Pro, EasyABL starting G code version 2.txt. I'm not sure what the question is there.
Oh, they're talking about the recommended G code, and if you're using TH3D's firmware, then yes, it does come with recommendations for start G code if you
There you
want.
go.
Cura's default one for most printers is to home it. It sets up relative positioning and all that fun stuff. In the latest ones, it also sets your jerk and acceleration by default. That actually was a carryover from the Creawesome mod. And then after that, it just goes and draws a line at the edge of your bed. But once you learn your base G code, you can do some pretty cool stuff for your startup. And I'll talk about that in the future. I'm just getting my big machine dialed in before I show off my start G code.
I love this one from Snapshot FPV. He says, can I upgrade Marlin to, say, swordfish?
Yeah, why not? Why not?
I actually want to actually put mine up to beluga.
Oh, there you go.
There you go. Yeah. So anybody looking for
Mine's
beluga,
just
it
a big
doesn't
fat whale
exist.
right now, so
We're being facetious. It doesn't exist.
yeah.
Marlin is it.
Just remember, guys, at the end of the day, every single 3D printing board that you have is an Arduino capable programmable board. And I've seen a
Yeah.
couple of YouTubers talk about that recently. Marlin is just one of the many options what you can put on there. You don't even have to use it for 3D printing. So I think you and I were talking about we've got some plans for some of our old Creality boards that are
Yep.
frankly wasted otherwise. But you know what? They've got motor drivers already built in. They've got pulse width modulation. They got temperature monitoring. They got servo driving. These are features that would normally be in a $50 or $60 Arduino board that we just have sitting doing absolutely nothing. So we're going to be talking about that in the future too.
Okay, so we've got Michael SC is, who else is making stuff to help nurses and doctors? We talked about that yesterday on our live stream, so we're not going to pretty much cover it here, but I will give you thumbs up if you're making that because you're making the face shields. Way to go. Vimin Andre, I hope that's the way he says that. Vimin Andre, or Andre Vimin. He says, my glass bed is warped and I want to upgrade to a spring steel sheet. Can you guide me to a good cheap one? First, I would say if your glass is warped, don't go to a spring steel sheet, because what happens when you put a magnet on that bed is it conforms to the bed. So your spring steel is going to conform to the bed. So if your heated bed is warped in any way, that's going to translate back up into your print, and it's going to be worse than having the glass or a mirror. I personally would put a mirror on there, and I think, Brian, you're in the same boat I am when it comes to that.
Yes, but you learn a lot of different issues with it. For instance, with mine, I bought a quite large mirror, and it is very very heavy. So I guess it depends printer to printer. I've never actually run glass on an Ender 3. I've only ever done the flex plates, but for the CR10s and bigger, yeah, I've always gone glass.
Yeah, it's glass or mirror is just fine. If you've got a bad piece of glass, be sure that you're using borosilicate glass. It's probably going to be your flattest glass to find, or mirror glass is going to be your flattest glass to find. Those are the two that I would go with.
I went to a local glass supplier here, and I think I got two mirrors for my 10S5 for about $50, which is definitely cheap for that size. Let's put it
Yeah.
that way. But
Yeah.
for CR10s, those Lowe's ones, the IKEA ones, they've all been fine.
Sausage is saying that French should be your second language because he didn't
Yes,
understand a dang thing that you said.
yes, pretty much. I
James Lane
what
is saying G29, if firmware is hard coded for 9 points, can you force it to use move points via the G code command? I believe there
I
is, but I'd have to
there's
look it
some,
up.
I've read into it, and what I gathered from it is it's a lot easier for me to change in the firmware that 3 to a 4 and go up to 16 points.
Yeah.
Also, I've always wondered because I've had issues with my G29 if it was an even or if it was an odd number. Because I found if it was reprobing the point where the home point was, it got really upset sometimes. So that's why I always go with an even number and go with either 4 points, 6 points, etc. I find if it's found its home, it's an added point in the center, but otherwise, I'd rather have 4 points probed around it rather than that same point.
There you go. There's a question here from Let's Play RC. He's asking, do you guys get any CRS-10 Pros with the BLTouch in stock yet? I don't know. I haven't been there for almost a week, and I'm not going to be there all next week, so I don't know what they've got in stock at the moment. I would say to you that just check their website at spool3d.ca and just see if they've got any in stock.
Or even just give them a call, because I know...
Raymond Emsley's just saying that it's on its way, and it's apparently left last week. So
yeah, there's been some incredible e-commerce delays in Canada. I'll give you guys some insight here. I spoke with the owner of Spool 3D because I needed an unusual, not available through any online store part for one of my Creality machines, and even with a rush order, it took like 2 to 3 weeks. So, be a bit patient. Remember, last night, if you didn't see our live stream, we were talking about preventative maintenance and versus reactive maintenance. So if you want to get those items, put a phone call out, right? If it's not coming in that shipment, if you call today, it's only delayed, a couple of days, right? So that's the one thing, about working with your local economy is that if they can order it, call them up and maybe they'll put an extra one in the order. You never know.
Wesley Fletcher is saying, I had a print become a stringy mess. I changed the settings and it is perfect, but taking 7 days to print. What is a good middle ground on the Enter 3 Pro? Whatever works, man. That's basically, if you had a stringy mess the first time and you've made some adjustments and it's added time, it's probably because it needed those adjustments. And I would say to you that just put up with the time. That's probably your best bet. That way you'll get a much better print in the end. I always say low and slow. Bring your temperature down if you can and go a little bit slower if you can. 40 millimeters per second is great on the Ender 3. I get beautiful prints for that, and I think that it's well worth taking a look at it.
Let's bear in mind, too, that you have to understand why each issue occurs.
Yeah.
Stringing, I'm going to tell you exactly how a stringing could happen. Number one, lifting from bad bed adhesion. Whether your bed's not level, or the adhesion's not good enough, or it's warping, one of those three will cause that. The second issue is a clog that resolves itself, but has caused a piece to bend up and catch on the nozzle, which then leads into your lifting and your bed adhesion issues and all that. The other night I lost a big print. I came up to a bird's nest, and here's what I did. I bought a Wise Cam for like they're $40 Canadian, they're like $20 US. Put an SD card in it, and it records all the time. So when I came up to the bird's nest, I rolled back my video footage, and I saw the exact point that it caught and lifted up. So I knew, okay, it peeled up from the backside. When I was watching it build the raft, I saw the back was a little bit lifted, but I decided to risk it. That's what happened. So getting back to the program title, the first layer is your foundation to a great print. If you don't get that right, you're...
Yeah, nothing else is going to happen.
Now, as for settings, if you do want to speed it up a little bit, look into your Cura settings to bump your print speed on the less detailed features such as infill and supports.
There you go.
More so on infill. Don't do it on supports unless you know what you're doing.
As we come up to the bottom of the hour, I want to remind you guys that we do have Super Chat turned on this evening. It is there if you guys are getting something out of tonight's show and you feel that you've gotten value on the questions that we've answered for you. Go ahead and throw us a few coins if you can. That's what the Super Chat is there for. And while we're doing that, let's talk about some other stuff. And first and foremost, we're going to go to this. So I'm going to cut Brian off. We can still hear him, though. If you guys are looking to get some of this fantastic merch like I'm wearing tonight, you can get them both in hoodies And in these wonderful, oh, there's Brian. Sorry.
Yeah, this wonderful.
You can get, yeah, we'll silence them again. You can also get them in this wonderful purple. Both hoodies, t-shirts come in purple, black, and gray. So you can get them from our Teespring store. The link is down below. It's also down in the description as well. So yeah, that's just our little plug for that. Again, I want to go to this next slide, which is questions. If you have questions, I want to remind you guys that you can always send your questions to questions@thefirstlayer.com Monday through Friday, and then we get a chance to look at them and organize them and put them all together. We've got one more question to answer tonight. And last but not least, let me go to this slide. Wow, we've got lots of slides tonight. And this is how you can find us on social media. You can go over to our group on Facebook and just look for The First Layer. You can find us on Instagram. And if you want to follow me, Cleveland I Am, you can. And I'm looking at this so you guys don't have to. And of course, you can always find us here on YouTube every Wednesday and Saturday night. We got a brand new episode coming for you this Wednesday, so you guys will be watching for that. And what else we got going on? I don't think we got a whole lot else happening. But let's, now that we've rolled over to 7:30, and let us take a look at this very last question. There was no name on this last question, and I couldn't make out the name in the email because it was, again, a very, very bizarre name. So I'm just going to read the question, and if you're in the chat and this is your question, then it's for you. So I just purchased an SKR 1.4 non-turbo BLTouch and TMC 2209 stepper drivers for my old ANET A8. I figured I'd revamp the machine since I was going to replace all stock slider bearings with IGUS bearings due to some slack in the old bearings. I updated the original stock ANET board with a improved 8-bit board, and the printer has performed flawlessly and now is my ABS printer in an enclosure. It has been a while since I've used Marlin and Arduino to update a board. So my question, all firmware and updates are pretty much the same except for build plate parameters and offsets for BLTouch. From the videos I've seen lately, the Arduino slight looks different than when I used it. Well, Arduino is a little bit different, but if you are doing a SKR board, you got to remember that it has a different chipset on it than a standard ramps board would. And you are going to have to use Visual Studio Code with the Platform IO extension. So you're going to be working in a little bit different environment, but the files for the configuration H and the configuration advanced H both look exactly the same because you are pulling them from that Marlin file. Then you're going to create the file onto a disk or upload it directly onto the board. Now, I've been able to, on the 1.4, the 1.3, boards, to upload it directly to the board, but you do have to have your SD card in the slot in order to do that. So I think you've got a great little machine there. There is an ANET configuration file that you may want to have a look at. If not, then if you want to do it from scratch, go ahead. But the example configuration H file is pretty good. You may have to adjust some of the pinouts for the BLTouch, though. What do you say to that, Brian?
Yeah, absolutely. I think you pretty much got it covered there. Bear in mind that you're going for a custom configuration state. So depending on which configuration you may want to start with, the ANET A8, I would say, I'm going to tell everybody, just start with the Ender 3 Pro default configuration for the new versions of Marlin, and then just modify your board and your steppers accordingly, because that's a pretty safe firmware when it comes down to your different settings. It's got pretty conservative values for most things, and it'll at least get you up and running. Because even if you start with the default configuration.h's that ship with Marlin, I don't know why. I'm assuming it's just for legacy support, but by default, the filament diameter alone in there is 3.0. So if you miss that, you're going to have a bad time right off the bat. So just take the Ender 3 Pro default configs and then modify that.
There's a question here. What's your opinion on the Zesty Nimble system? That's from Vimin. Vimin, I can't really speak to the Zesty Nimble. I haven't used one. Brian, have you used one? Did you
I
ever
haven't
get
even
one?
heard of one. No.
Yeah, I really can't answer that because I haven't played with one yet. Some people like them. There's been plenty of videos out there on them. I would go and check YouTube just to see what is what and make sure that there's something there for you. And that might give you a better idea. If you want us to do one, we can certainly try and get our hands on a Zesty Nimble so that we can bring you a video on it. I don't see that being too difficult for us to do. What
Yeah, you
else we
can
got going on?
you can always stay tuned on our Facebook page and check it out there, and we'll announce if we have something cool coming in, like your more recent review, and you'll get to see cool, fun videos like the one that our buddy Chris Walker here just shared of watching our show while fishing.
I don't know what to say about that. That's
Oh,
too
it's
funny.
fantastic. That's great. Wow,
That's
that is
awesome.
really realistic. That's great.
That's amazing.
I know what I'm going to be doing
Um,
tonight.
Captain Laughlin's asking, what's the worst infill for models? There's no bad infill as far as I can determine. I've tried all the different infills. It all depends on what you're making. If you're making something like a statuette, if you want to do something like this guy here, like a Hulk, this is not 3D printed, of course, but if you wanted to do a Hulk figure like this, I would use either gyroid, cubic, or any one of those infills. If you're doing a part that needs to have strength, of course, there's several different strengths out there for you to use, or several different ones. Just follow our infill video that lays it all out for you. What's the best infill for what type of model that you're doing? Trevor Rickard, thank you very much for the super chat.
Thank you.
We
Thumbs
do
up.
appreciate that. I'm going to actually record a new thing that's going to go like this: super chat. So every time we get a super chat, that's what you're going to hear.
Someone's been playing Halo. Slayer.
Slayer. Yeah. I'll have to bring in the good mic and get right up on that mic. Slayer.
Yeah, for those, I know I come through a little bit weird, guys, and it's because I'm always experimenting with something new I bought from the electronic recyclers. So today's recording is from a Audio Technica Cardioid Pro 44, and I think I paid like $30 for this thing.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm always experimenting with new audio stuff. The fact is, I just don't have room for all my proper condenser mics. So, yeah, anybody can get started on YouTube these days, pretty cheap.
There you go. We've got some stuff coming up on resin printing fairly soon. Here's a ring that I did.
Ooh,
I found this on Thingiverse, so I didn't design it, but it is a maker ring. And it doesn't fit my big fat hands, of course. I think it fits my pinky. That's about it. But I will make it bigger so that it does fit my hand. And I may actually make this out of castable resin so that I can make myself a real ring.
I just saw a comment that was, what was it? Sausage was saying, someone mentioned a bent glass bed. Is that even possible? I would have thought you'd need a bit more heat to bend glass than a 3D printer can supply. You're correct. However, basically, glass is a very finicky process, and although it won't warp until you get to a pretty high temperature, that is, the actual surface, the flatness of the surface can deviate in small amounts that you would notice on a print. You got to remember you're printing at sometimes even a 0.04 millimeter variance is enough to ruin a first layer adhesion. Now, mirrors are generally produced in a better quality process in smaller batches, for instance, and on smaller sheets. And I was just actually looking up on YouTube. Hopefully I can show you guys a link that shows you how glass is made. And you can see that it's basically relying on surface tension. I think it's on water or something that it kind of flattens itself out. And with mirrors, if you've ever heard about different grades of quality parts out in the market, a mirror requires a higher grade of tolerance to pass QA, and that's because you're deflecting off the rear surface. If you look out at a window, if there's minor variances, there won't be enough of a deviation for you to notice detail loss unless there was something right on the other side of the glass. So I will see if I find a good one here, and I'll share it in the chat for you guys to watch there.
Well, we're going to say goodbye to Let's Play RC. He's got to head out for the evening. Thank you for joining us tonight. I want to go back because there's a couple of questions I want to quickly tackle here. There's one. Hi, will the Creality enclosure fit the Ender 5 3D spaghetti mess? I don't believe it does. I believe it only fits the Ender 3. The Ender 5 has a little bit bigger footprint, but I don't believe it does. I think it's only made for the Ender 3. Are you looking it up there, Brian?
I'm just looking it up. I believe well, their showcase images show it with an Ender 3, but last time I checked, in fact, their demo video has it with a Ender 5 in there, but not the Ender 5 Plus.
Okay.
And it'll just barely fit an Ender 5. Now, if you guys want to save yourself some money, because this thing they're charging $89 US, 125 Canadian for this stupid thing, okay? Go onto Amazon and look up grow enclosures. They look like those things out of every 90s movie where everyone's growing drugs secretly in a room. But you know what? They do the frickin' job. I've got one that's 24 inch by 24 inch by 48 inch in the other room, and it cost me less than $50 Canadian.
There you go.
Just don't spend too extra money you don't need to spend.
Big Joe 4265 says, I have an Ender 5 Pro. Immediately regret purchasing any FDM printer. I'd like to know more as to why that is the case for you, because it could be that there's something that you haven't done. Not to say that you're an idiot or anything, but it's just to say that there's something that you may not have done properly in the initial setup, and that's probably why you're not getting the results that you want. But please elaborate for us so we know a little bit more. John Kitchen, any thoughts on the Ender extender kits? The Ender extender kits.
Everyone's asking me every night about this. Okay.
Do you know what the Ender extender kit is? It's just some more steel. That's all it is.
Well, not exactly.
For the most part, that's all it is. Can you do it yourself? Yes, you can. Do you have to spend the money that they want on it? No, you don't. I would take a look at, do you really need that height? If you needed that height, why didn't you just buy a CR10? That's kind of my...
I mean, so I've spoken with Mark for a long time.
Okay.
Mark Haverson is the owner of the company there, and when he first came out with it, I was chatting with him because I was interested to see, because it's a pretty moderate price for his base kit, which just increases the Z height. So we looked into it, and the shipping costs were prohibitively expensive in Canada. So I said, hey, I'm going to try this myself with extruded aluminum here, and when I eventually do a video on it, I'll give you a shout out or whatever. And what advice do you have? And he was experimenting too, so I went and I extended my Ender 3 to a meter tall just because I could. Now I only got the print up to about 610 millimeters, and his kits go up to 500 mils, so it works for a lot of people. Now he's got a wider kit and all that, which actually includes a larger heated bed, more additional framing to widen it out. I haven't looked much at that kit, to be honest with you, because I already have a 10S, I have a 10S5. I don't need that wider build volume. Now, it seems to be easy enough for a lot of people. Again, I haven't looked at the pricing of that larger kit, but our friends over at Teaching Tech there, he just did a video on Mark's kit. I know Mark sent it over to him, and Mark's probably getting swamped right now. He's just a guy who works out of his house. So the kits, there's no reason for it to have any issues. At the same time, you can do it yourself. Just get two 500 millimeter extensions. The wires do not require any additional extensions. You just have to reroute them to, I think it was the front of the heat block to make the stock ones work. And it requires 2 or 3 taps, if I recall. It took me an hour to do it. So it's up to you. Yeah,
pretty much.
Yeah.
Love my FDM printers, Dan Borio is saying. Chris Travis. Hello, Chris. Been a while.
Yeah,
Teaching Tech did a video on this upgrade. So Yeah, go
Yes.
check out Michael's video over at Teaching Tech. We haven't done one. We may do one soon. John Kitchen says,
Wait,
I have
just
a 5
it was just
plus. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say it's just prohibitively expensive to get that kit up here in Canada, and Spool 3D has some incredible prices, honestly, on extruded aluminum versus even wholesaling it in from China. So I just walked in there and I bought all my extruded aluminum there, and I've still got some in my storage locker too. It's kind of a universal tool in my world. So if you have, simply put, if you have a tap and die set, if you have some M3 screws, and you can buy the extruded aluminum, give it a try yourself. If you're really uncomfortable with tools, you probably shouldn't be doing the mod in the first place because it'll probably cause more issues than it would solve by misalignments, shall we say.
Jerry over at 3D Printing and Painting says he also did a video on it for height.
Yeah, Jerry, that
S-
was 3 months ago.
yeah,
I
I
want to
think
say
about three
2 or
months ago.
3 months
Yeah.
ago. Yeah,
Go check out Jerry's channel. It's definitely worth a look, and he's been a great friend of ours since the beginning of our show. He's like been here. He's an OG.
yeah, and
Now that we're coming up on 3 years, he's an OG.
yeah, he's fought medical crises and everything. He's the unstoppable Jerry in Vegas.
There you go.
Yeah.
Snapshot FPV says, Richard, I wish to send you something for May 4th. How do I get it to you? There is a address for mailing stuff to us. It does go to Spool 3D, and that's where all my mail goes right now for the show. So you can just send it to Spool 3D in care of me, or you can use the address that is in the description down below. I believe there's an address down there. And thank you if you want to send me something. I think that's great.
James Lane was asking, where can we get the metric tap and die set for 3D printers here in Calgary? Canadian Tire.
Canadian Tire, Princess Auto, both of them. I got mine from Canadian Tire, but yeah, you can get them at Princess Auto as well.
Yeah, I just used an El Cheapo. I bought it a few years ago when they had one of those sales where it was down from $180 to like $26 or something. You can also order an M3 tap or an M4 tap on Amazon, I'm sure, for pennies on the dollar. I just got the huge heavy kit, and that was the first time I ever used it. And then it was a very sweaty afternoon in August on my deck. It's
Yes,
not.
we are coming up on 3 years sausage in October. We will have been doing this show technically for 3 years. We did do a few episodes prior to our actual launch, some test episodes, which we don't count. Our official launch was August 4th, 2017. Yes,
We're gonna
2017.
have to, now that I recovered that big
October
hard
4th,
drive,
2017. Yeah.
we're gonna have to like pull some of that unused footage and just show it on the channel and just be like, oh man, we were so young and naive.
Weren't we, though? Weren't we?
Right?
I actually didn't have all this gray then either. Yeah, you
Yeah,
can get one. You can get them on Amazon as well. Amazon is up and down right now for shipping. Some stuff is shipping right away. Some stuff is shipping April. Some stuff is not shipping till June. So
yeah, and here's the thing, okay. If you guys truly need something from Amazon, I've ordered some stuff that has said April 20th, but it's actually shown up in 2 days. Now, here's basically Amazon's mandate during this is they said we're going to put priority on on critical goods, which I 100% support. That being said, if they're not shipping critical items, they're going to go and dribble out orders, but they're not going to guarantee that date right now because there's a lot of weird things about guarantees. And I've seen a few discussions about this online. I'm going to continue to pay them my Amazon Prime because I use the video, and I think that they've done an overall good job on the 3 years that I've used it. So if you do see something on there that says ships April 20th or so, maybe just throw it in there, do a checkout, and just see if it's not shipping within a week, or if you end up picking up the item otherwise, well, then just cancel your order. There's no cost, right? So, it's all about, again, as we said last night, you can see the live stream, support your local business if you can. But that being said, if you can't get something, don't assume it's going to take a month. Expect it, but it may show up earlier.
Pierre is asking, how's the progress? Beginner in April video. It is coming along slowly but surely. It's in primer now. So my wife right now is just going over it. She does all the sanding and all the cleaning. I don't do any of that stuff anymore. I do the dirty work. I paint it. No, I guess she does the dirty work because she does all the filling and the sanding. Right now, she's just going through and just sanding down all the roughness on it. And then it will finally get into probably another filler primer coat. Once that filler primer coat is done and it's gotten its final sanding, then it will go into gloss black paint. And then we are probably going to spray this with All-Clad's aircraft aluminum because it has a really nice look to it. And then we'll put a visor in it, and this will be my new safety shield.
Ooh.
I'll be walking around all over downtown Calgary with my new safety shield.
Ooh. Oh,
So hopefully
Yeah,
that
it sounds
answered
like-
your question.
that sounds like something you'd do.
Yeah, that's absolutely something I would do.
Well, maybe if you guys haven't heard already, Calgary Expo has finally announced they're postponing.
Yes, they are.
They're not canceling. They don't have a date, so I'm gonna say postponed indefinitely. Part of that is a parade of wonders. So we're hoping to maybe have some outfits or something put together for that.
I can't
is the
hear
way.
anything because I've been asked to put it on. Put it on.
Mods are gone. Post your printer mods before
So
Richard can
it is
understand what
quite
we're doing.
big. So, there you go. It's quite big. It should sit right about there when I put the padding in, and a little bit forward so my nose isn't sticking out. I don't get that profile. So
That's
yeah,
not bad.
I got to put some padding in it because there's a lot of room in here right now.
Yeah, quickly put on the hat.
Let me get that on
It's-
there.
it's-
I can't
it's
hear
been a long week
anything.
almost.
There we go.
There you go. There you go.
What were you guys saying about me?
Oh, nothing. Jerry was saying put a foam piece in the top. Yeah, probably.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll be
I've
putting
got a
foam.
huge amount of foam here, so
Yeah, me too. I will be putting foam in the top. I'll be putting foam in on the side, so it'll be a much nicer fit. I'm actually thinking about detailing the inside of this with the Mandalorian pieces you can find on Thingiverse right now for the Boba Fett helmet. So that might be something I do.
yeah, it looks nice, honestly.
I like it. This is the one from, what is his name?
Nico.
Nico, that's right. This is the one from Nico Industries. It's only
yeah,
$20 for
Yeah,
that
and you know
model.
what? Nico has a whole free section too.
Yes, he
Go
does.
check his site, and he has got some amazing models. In fact, I've been working closely with him to get the details 100% accurate on the Halo Master Chief Infinite suit, and I've got the STLs ready to go. I'm just trying to get my my big printer going because what I've deducted at this point is either it's an issue with the BLTouch or it's an issue with the timing for the Z moves, and basically my deviance right now is as high as 0.08 on M48
Oh, wow.
command. Yeah, it's really starting to get under my skin, but problem is, and this is the problem with modding your printer is where do you go for support? Is a BLTouch issue a Marlin issue? Is it a, in this case, Big Tree Tech issue with their board? Or is it an issue with the BLTouch itself? And I've been going through each of the stages, and it's not always easy. So if you can keep your printer to fewer mods, you're going to have less people to bother when you've got conflicting support options.
There you are.
Hey,
Let me just grab
Captain-
this
Captain
link here real
Lachlan's
quick.
bugging you. You got to get those shirts out.
Yes, I know.
I'm not gonna let him leave tonight, Kate. He's got to update the store because he didn't give me the password.
I am going to update the store, but first I'm going to put in, because people are asking where they can send their maker coins to. So
Yes.
here is the Google Drive that is open for you to put your STL into. There are also STLs in there already that you can download, so feel free to download them as well. What I'm missing something, I'm sure of it. Speaking of shields, I have combed the internet to see if any local hospitals are accepting LOL face shields. Do you know of any website lists hospitals that are? I have no idea, Snapshot. I know here in Calgary they are not accepting 3D printed products for medical use right now. So that could change.
I have to. I know I saw a link on Reddit earlier of a group that you could sign up for, like a website that would allow you to register your location, and then, as required, they would contact you. But I haven't. There's a whole plethora of issues with doing this. So to summarize what we said last night, number one, your medical center has to be willing to accept it, which
Yep.
is there's no point in even trying unless you want to just for yourself. Because the fact is, number two, unless you know how to take care of it properly, you could actually create or basically be carrying around the germs more so than protecting yourself. You don't need it at home unless you're dealing with a lock-in medical situation. I hope none of you are dealing with that.
Yeah.
But deviances in the there's deviances in everybody's printers, and so you would have to make sure that it meets a certain specification. Your PLA, you want to make sure it's solid because as far as I know, there's no legal recourse they could come after you, but you don't want to have it that there was a defect in your print that caused someone to be inadvertently exposed. So if you have your printers dialed in, you've got a commercial establishment, because let's be honest, there's companies like Shapeways that could produce way more,
Hmm.
way quicker than any one of us. But if you're truly in a dire situation and people are reaching out for help, then go for it. But find out what they need because every location is different right now.
Yes, he's absolutely right about that. Every location is different, and some people are reporting that the hospitals aren't accepting them. None in Florida, apparently. Um, Paul Cumber says, I'm on lockdown with my girlfriend. That's always fun. I'm on lockdown with my wife, so I feel, I'm happy. My printer has no deviance. LOL. Snapshot.
Oh
He's the
man,
comedian
lucky
tonight.
you. Oh man, I can't explain right now in layman's terms why I'm getting so many deviances. I could tell you guys exactly every possible scenario, but then how do you test it is where I'm stuck at, right?
Exactly.
I'm I can't just go and reinstall a. I suppose I could. I could probably install a temporary Z switch just to do an M48 test against that, see if the Z's moving up and down equally. But now the question is the BLTouch reporting back as fast as possible, or is there a timing issue in the Marlin code? And that's the problem with Marlin 2.0 and all these new boards coming out on the market is everything is an alpha and beta test right now. So,
Yep.
yeah.
So, on that note, we're going to wrap it up here real quick. We got about 3 minutes. So, I do want to thank everybody for joining us tonight. If you're not watching this on the live stream and you'd still like to get a hold of us, here are some fantastic ways to do that. You can also go to our group here over on Facebook. You can follow us on Instagram. If you want to follow me, you can. Cleveland IM on Twitter. I don't post very much there, but also over here on YouTube, like, subscribe, share, and leave a comment down below because it certainly does help our metrics at the end of the day. And as always, Super Chat is always turned on when we do a live stream, and we do appreciate those who get value out of what we try and bring to you each and every week. And we will see you again on Wednesday with a brand new episode. Brian, what do you got coming up?
Uh, Really just working, getting these printers running nicely. I mean, all the printers I've got running right now don't have the build volume I want, so I'm going to get the big boy going. And at this point, all I can say is I'm going to try to not be George R. R. Martin and promise you a new episode is coming and it's going to be great.
Okay. I guarantee there will be a new episode on Wednesday this week. And I will see you on Wednesday this week. We got a lot of great stuff. We've got a printer that we're going to be reviewing in the upcoming weeks. I want to do some more testing with it first, and do some more B-roll with it. You guys are going to see a real difference in the way that we do stuff from here on in, just because we have access now to, and we have the time to do a lot of different things. So we really do appreciate you guys joining us each and every week for the live streams. And, it's you guys that we come back for. And that's really the gist of it. We want to bring you the best information that we can. And we're not always right, but we try to be as right as we can. And we try and get you the best information that we can. So until we see you next time, Brian, my good friend, who is down below this time.
Hello.
Hello. I want to wish you a great week, Brian, and I'm going to talk to you throughout the week anyway. And I want to wish you guys a great week. If you're stranded at home, print something. Post it over on our Facebook page. If you are a Patreon, go ahead.
I was saying post it in 3D.
Post it in 3D. For those questions that are a little bit more technical about what the bottom layer should look like, maybe we'll cover that in the upcoming weeks as far as the video goes. And we will go that way. As far as smaller shirts, Lachlan, smaller sizes for hoodies, they are coming this week. Now that I'm at home, I have a chance to do them, so I will do them this week and make sure that they are available for you. So until we see you guys next time, remember that the first layer is always your foundation to a great print. See you Wednesday.
See you next time.